Greetings and welcome to my channel. This is Sorcerer Tal. You can also find me on Facebook in the Sorcerer's Guild. Today on Sorcerer's Shadow, Volume 1, we are going to be discussing the essay entitled The Guild's Thoughts on Karma. Now clearly this is a guild essay, being a collaborative effort, and the people that collaborated on this particular essay are myself, Sorcerer Tal, Mitch Moon, Damien Ferguson, Michael O'Sullivan, Melissa Winters, Amber Herman, Jacobus Apostata, and Dawn Black. If I mispronounced any of your names, I apologize. Okay, now, as usual, I will include access to the actual essay in the description of this video. However, this is a rather short video, and there is a reason for that I want to get into before we begin discussing karma at all. The reason that this is a short essay is that I don't believe the guild should be telling you right from wrong. These are personal choices. These are things that, in my opinion, one must learn for themselves. So I tend to avoid moralizing. You've heard me say on these videos many times before, moral implications aside. Okay, that's not what these series are about. I may get into that with the Unorthodox Wordery playlist, but with official guild playlists, I don't like to get into moral implications or ethics. So, that is not what this post is going to be about. This is about the idea of karma, and the essay is not about right or wrong, simply what is karma. Because it is discussed in many, many different ideas of sorcery, especially with your Wicca, witchcraft. You have this idea of the threefold law. Well, as it says in this essay, and the general consensus that the guild has come across on this, these things are only as true as you believe them to be. Many people argue that the idea of the threefold law was simply put in place to keep younger members from casting spells that could get them in trouble. Because let's face it, there are dangers in casting curses. The repercussions are, there's potential for that, especially if you're using goo for dust or dangerous chemicals. But there's also the simple fact that if you cast a curse on somebody, they're liable to strike back. To me, the idea of whether you should cast baneful magic is very similar, as I say in there, to the idea of whether you should punch someone. Well, there's always going to be repercussions for that. You should have a good reason before you punch someone in the face. Simply because there's going to be consequences. It's not necessarily going to be 3 times the consequences. You might get much less the consequences. You punch someone in the face, someone calls you a jerk, that's the end of it. Same with curse work, in my opinion. Unless you believe in the threefold law. Now there is the rub, yeah? This idea of karma in the threefold law, direct repercussions, is probably only as effective as your belief in it. So as you're casting the curse, if you add through your belief as a condition of the curse that it's going to hit me even harder than it hits the target, oh yeah, it's going to hit you harder. You just put it in your intent. You just made a power sap to come around and smack yourself again. In my opinion. Other people insist the threefold law is gospel truth. They can believe that if they wish. But I feel that it's necessary to be brought up so that aspiring sorcerers don't see that as an end-all, be-all, only option of how you can think about it. There are variables. There is potential for it to be different than that. Okay, so now that we've talked about this Wiccan westernized version of karma, let's talk about the original concept while we're at it. In the original concept, from Hinduism or wherever it sprung from originally, I mean, people have different opinions as to where this idea originally came from, but it is typically known as an Eastern concept stemming from Hinduism. And in that idea, karma isn't about being good. Karma isn't about behaving. Karma is about behaving like yourself. Karma is about following your fate by following your nature. Yeah? The more you act outside of your nature, the more you do things that are unlike what you would do, the farther you're going to be pulled from your own natural fate. And in the original concept, that's bad karma. Simply living outside of one's intended fate. Well, if your fate is to be ran over by a bulldozer next week, maybe I don't want that kind of karma. Maybe I want to change my fate. So what is this karma? Is it maybe just living the way you were supposed to? Staying within the rules? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it's the balancing effect. Because there is balance. We know in the law of paradox that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Or, excuse me, for every truth, there's an equal and opposite truth. But it's the same law. It's basically Newton's third law. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. But this applies to magic as well. If you cast bad energy out there, something's going to react. Is it going to come back to you and hit you 3 times that same amount? In my opinion, probably not. But my opinion isn't the only one out there. And I believe it's yours that matters. Okay, so that will be it for this episode on karma. Thank you once again for joining us. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please take the opportunity to do so now. And don't forget to join us next time, where we will be discussing, well, let's look real quick so I don't get it wrong. On lucid dreaming and astral projection. And that will be the first essay in this book that I did not actually have a hand in writing, but I will make a video and go over it as well still. Okay, so thank you once again for joining us. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please take the opportunity to do so now. Until then, bright blessings and an interesting fate. This has been Sorcerer Tal.